Hello, friends. I wanted to talk to you about finances. I have been teaching finance probably, oh, it's 25 years, something like that. And one of the things that I always notice is people are spending money on things that they shouldn't. So I usually start off by thinking of it this way, is that you need some things in order to be able to have a job. If somebody is not on drugs or mentally ill, usually if they're homeless, if we find them a place to live, then they are able to get a job and maintain a job. So the first thing you want to do is, if you are making a budget, you want to make a budget, is to look at the items that you have for your household, your rent, your mortgage, your electric, your gas, water, house insurance, those type of bills. Order those on a budget. You don't want to necessarily live without a budget. It's probably not advisable because then you don't know where your money's going. Then the second thing is unless you live in a major city, then it's hard for you to get to work without a car. So the next item that you would do on a budget, or in other words, what you want to spend your money on, if you are making money, is on a vehicle. The next items are your payments for your vehicle, your gas. You want to budget some items for repairs, maintenance, insurance, and those kind of things. It's probably, if you can probably Google and find some of these budgets online. But what I want to advise you about is many people get into the mistake of they borrow money to buy a car, especially their first car. I had a wise uncle, Uncle Amos. He, whenever I was very young, before I bought my first car, he told me never borrow money to buy a car, because the reason is I see people do this all the time. They buy a car, like I alluded to last night, that the as much as it would cost for you to buy a home. $80,000 for a vehicle these days, or even 60 for economy class, or 40. I had bought houses for those. I think probably $60,000 is the most I've ever paid for a home, including this one, and that I live in. And so it's hard for me to see somebody spending that kind of money on a home and then paying, $6, 7, $8,000 a month on a payment for that vehicle. That's a lot of money you're gonna have to make to just pay the vehicle. Um, you know, um, so whatever you can afford in cash, I demonstrated to my son, and I still have the car sitting outside. I bought a vehicle for $800, and it's ran. It's one of those that I like to say I can't run it into the junkyard. Several people have tried. I think that I've loaned it to. They've been really rough on it, but it still runs. It still is a good car. It will get you to work. If you need it to. I bought that. Let's see, that's been 5, 6 years ago now, and so you don't really think about that whenever that you are you want, if you're young, you're thinking, oh, I want something to impress people. And I found that very interesting when I owned some homes in Lexington. It was kind of interesting that that I was renting to these people, and some of them had more expensive wheels on their cars than I had paid for the house. Um, you know, it just didn't make any sense to me, and it doesn't make any sense financially. It is because of the way that I guess I was raised to be conservative, physically conservative with my income, to watch where my money went, and to watch those things. So enough said about vehicles. The next thing that you that you want to spend money on is food, because if you're not taking care of yourself through medical, this would include medicine, vitamins, that sort of thing would go on the next items, because if you're not eating and taking care of yourself, then you're not going to be able to work and to maintain your job. So you want to then look at your your food items there. This includes eating out. That's one of the things that most people waste their money on these days, is eating out. Um, and I'm guilty of that too. But you have to watch. That's usually something that can really be eliminated if you're spending more than you're making, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, is that you want to eliminate eating out. A lot of people want to eat out, take your lunch to work. Don't be ashamed. Sit at your desk eating a sandwich you made at home, or you know, or I'm kind of lazy. I just eat one meal a day. So, but then the next thing is miscellaneous, and this is where I said that most people have it backwards, is because as I sat on the benevolence committee of a church one time, and I thought it was funny, or it wasn't really funny because these people are hurting. I thought it was strange that they spend all their money on TV, their phone, and frivolous things, memberships like that. That if you, I know my youngest son is really bad about that. Every time a new iPhone comes out, oh, he wants a new iPhone. But even though he doesn't have a phone yet, but the sales makes it so attractive to buy the newest thing. I've always tried to teach my kids it's hard to get them to understand to buy the old generation. Buy. I bought my youngest son an Xbox One and 75 games for what it cost, to buy the next generation at the time. And then same way with my youngest son. And this, you can buy so much more. There's so much more power in buying the older generation because nobody wants them. And so you can pick them up, on Marketplace or someplace for cash and not cost that much. Same way with phones. Like phones are like $800 or $900. Of course, you're buying, a laptop and a camera and a video production system. This is an 11. This isn't a 14. So. I'm too cheap. I'm holding it with my hand. I need to buy one of those stands to hold it. But anyway, we'll get there. And so the idea is, instead of paying $8,000-9,000 for a phone, but you're saying, well, they're giving it to me for free, but they're not. They're charging you each month. You're paying. Maybe $100 for your cell phone service. These people at the time were paying like $150 for the cell phone service, and that's the other thing, is you don't need all those gigs. You don't need unlimited data that will last you. that the minimum now is 5G. 5 gigs, and that's enough to about do anybody. You don't need to be live streaming while you're going down the interstate on your way to work every morning. Or you don't need to be streaming movies. You can wait until you get to work and use the internet there. No, I'm just kidding. You need to actually work when you're at work and not be live streaming. If you're a good Christian, your work ethics is that you give them as much as you can instead of goofing off on that. And then you should have Wi-Fi at your home where that you can be able to access that data there. So there's really no reason for that other than it makes you feel good to have unlimited data to be able to stream stuff all the time. The TVs, the internet, I can understand because I have internet to be able to access the data, so you're not spending the money someplace else. But television, there's really no reason for television. It's a waste of time, but most people need entertainment. But if you're a Christian, that's a waste of time. Anything that you can get rid of in your life that allows you the opportunity to spend that time, in the Word or with God instead of wasting it in life. And there's so much that's free out there nowadays. It's kind of, remember when I grew up, I only had 3 channels. We had one out of Lexington and 2 out of Knoxville. It was, I can't tell you what channel. I know wasn't NBC, it was ABC and CBS. There was 2, channel 18 was NBC out of Lexington. So nowadays you can Roku or and have all kinds of stuff free. You may not have local channels or things like that, but entertainment, you can get so much free that it's ridiculous to be able to pay for, $100 for HBO and Cinemax and have everything. That's what they had. These couples would come in for help, and they were paying $150 a month for their cable bill because they had everything. And they were asked. Our max we paid out was $50. I was like, if you cut out your cell phone and your internet bill, you'd have 6 times more than what we're going to give you. But I wasn't that lame to them. We usually went ahead and gave it to them. But I was starting to say, why don't we give them some financial counseling? Why don't we, I'll make them earn the $50. Ask them to come in for counseling for 5 hours or something, or two hours as a couple. And help them set up a budget, and instead of it being something that's a repetitive thing. But it's hard to get people to want to do that. Not really probably thinking anybody will watch this video either, but it'll be out there if somebody wants some help with some financial advice, is all this is. And so the reason I want to give it is because it's very important. Because I see so many people these days. I get calls all the time, and I see people. I ask them, "Do you have first, last, and deposit?" And they're like, "I'll have it next paycheck." they're living paycheck to paycheck, and so to me, they are one paycheck away from being homeless. What happens if your car breaks down and you're not able to go to work? You blow the engine in your car. You have a flat tire, and you go. It was like this last week. We spent $3 or $4 on tires. Last month we had 2 vehicles. We spent $300 or $400 on a starter. Those things need to be budgeted into your into your budget so that you have the money for it. But that's where savings comes in, is you need to think about having money so that you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Really, you should have enough money in the bank that you could live several months um, without worry. If in case something happens, what happens if you lose your job and you don't have any work for 3 months? What are you going to do? It takes you 3 months to find another job. And two, we have become such a society that we now it takes both parents to work. When I was growing up, my mother stayed home and my dad worked, and he was blessed to have a good enough income. I know that several of my cousins, their wives didn't have to work, but it seems like today that not only does both couples have to work, they have to have two jobs each to pay the bills. But then you look at what the bills are. If you both have an $80,000 or $100,000 vehicle, you got a $250,000